Welcome to the Disciples of the Watch podcast with your hosts, Gene Vogel and Nate Matnich.
Welcome, metal brothers and sisters, and thank you for joining the Disciples of the Watch. I hope you're ready for another deep dive.
In this episode, we're going to go track by track on Testament's new album, Bellum. I'm Nate Matnich.
And I'm Gene Vogel. Thank you for joining us. Damn, yeah, hell yeah. We're going to see where this new album ranks in our worst to best, because we've done that in the past, Nate. So now all we got to do is figure out where would this fall in our ranking of worst to best on the whole goddamn mix of Testament albums. I'm blanking. How many are there? There's
14, including First Strike, Still Deadly, but we did not include that in our worst to best rankings. So there was 13 albums, including the new one.
13 studio, not re-records and all that kind of business.
Yep.
So there you go. So definitely not up to snuff with Overkill or bands like that we've tackled in the past. AC/DC, Rush. You know, we're talking about 20 albums or so when we deal with those catalogs. So this was a little bit more bite-sized, a little bit more manageable, but still not too shabby. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to shit on Testament. We'll do that later as we go through.
Maybe.
I'm
glad I re-listened to this last night. I gave it another listen, took fresh notes, had a whole different experience than listening to it previously.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of listen to it once, maybe get some rough notes, but you definitely got to dig back into it. Give it time to settle, because sometimes, how many times have we listened to or discussed albums that have grown us, like And Justice for All is one that pops at the top of my head. Like, holy shit. I didn't like it when I first heard it. I'm like, without Cliff, they're done. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, that fucking album's awesome. And I've probably done that with Overkill.
Yeah, back then it helped that you didn't have quite the collection, because you kind of just had to listen to stuff.
Yes.
You know, I had like 10 cassettes or something, and one of those was Justice for All, so I was going to listen to it. After like a week, I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah, you got to give it that due diligence, man. And that's why I always appreciate, that's why I try to be a little bit reluctant. I may even kind of put an asterisk there. Well, I'm not really digging it, but I'm going to give it some more listens and see what happens. I'm doing that right now with the new Deftones album. That one for me, when I first heard it, I'm like, okay, I'll buy this on CD. I enjoy Deftones. I'm going to support the band. Bought the CD and then threw it in my car. I've been listening in my car, and it's like, it's okay. But all the press and all the people seem to think it's like one of the best things they've done since White Pony. It's like, it might be, but I haven't really been impressed with Deftones since White Pony, maybe. I don't know, but I always try to give it some time, let things grow on you, because you're always expecting to be that musical orgasm on the first listen. Maybe you don't get it. Maybe it's musical foreplay. Maybe it's just getting you hot and bothered. And then all of a sudden you get into that third or fourth listen, all of a sudden you're just spewing all over the place like a fucking grade schooler. Okay, maybe a high schooler. That went a little shot low on that one. Pardon the pun.
This show is naughty and might make you a potty mouth.
As far as, I think I lost my train of thought on that now. Oh, well.
I painted a mental picture that totally blew your mind.
Took me right off track.
But the fact that you went to listen to it again, I always appreciate that, because I always hate when people listen to it once and go, it's garbage. It's like, give it time. Have you ever been through this process? That you've listened to an album, it's like, okay, now I've heard what they're offering me, and my expectations weren't met, but maybe my expectations were high. Now let's go through it a few more times and let's see what happens. I love albums like that.
Yeah, and there's what I was gonna say is there's enough bits on this album that are super kick-ass that would make me personally want to come back and check it out again, even though like on the initial listen it wasn't grabbing me as much, but there were some stuff that I was like, I'd like to hear that again. Listening to it again with headphones on especially, like, I really absorbed it, and man, they did a really nice job on this one. The whole album from front to back is just like one crushing riff after another. It's fucking mind blowing.
Well, I'm going to be very curious to see how you rank this.
Yeah,
especially where it falls in your ranking from from number 1 to number 13. Where that falls.
It changed 3 slots.
Wow.
Yep, because I ranked it right when I first listened to it, and then as I was listening to it, I kind of was like, I'm going to bump this up a few. And then by the time I got done, I had new rankings. And so then I recounted it and gave it all fresh new spot, but it moved up 3 times in my list.
So this is your best Testament album of all time. Is that that's what you're telling us?
I won't say that, but you might be surprised where it falls.
I'm going to be curious. Well, I suppose we should dig right in now. There's not much more to catch up on. Whew, damn. So what do we got here on the album details on this one, Nate?
It was released on October 10th, 2025, recorded through May and December of 2024. They recorded this in a number of different studios. Trident, Dragon Lair, Skull Productions, and Classic Recording Bristol.
Skull!
I love the genre name. We got thrash metal, of course.
Yep.
But they've got black and death metal. And I initially picked up on the black metal vibe on the very first track. And when I first listened to it, I was like, if the whole album is this is fucking awesome. But it didn't, not every song is like that. But listening to it again last night with headphones on, there's a lot of black metal vibe throughout this whole entire album. So, and there's a little bit of the death metal too, but I think they leaned actually more towards the black metal vibe, which to me makes more sense for Alex Skolnick's type of playing because, death metal often is like, it can be really fast, of course, but a lot of it's like slow, like, drippy, fucking heavy. And black metal is more like traditional heavy metal, I guess. I don't know how to describe it. Before all these genres kind of started out, when there was just bands kind of who were just unique and then those grew off into whatever. I don't know. Anyways, Alex Skolnick, in my mind, as a guitar player, black metal fits right in with him.
Black metal at times is like neoclassical on methamphetamines.
Oh, yeah.
That's how I would put it. And I think that fits in. And if I'm not mistaken, I did a little digging, not much though, because I've got so much other shit going on in my life. But it seems like Eric Peterson has contributed to some of the background vocals, which are possibly those black metal vocal stylings that we're hearing on this album.
Yep, I didn't know that was him doing the backing vocals. I just thought maybe they were layering Chuck's vocals, but definitely, Chuck has some both. He's got the black metal sound and the death metal sound going on. But there's parts like where I was thinking like this was reminiscent of Deicide, where Glenn Benton's got the low vocals, but then he's got the higher ones, kind of going over the top of it, and it gives this really wicked sound. And that is throughout this whole album. Those background vocals where it's a higher registration, snarl or whatever, scream or whatever you want to call it.
Scream. Yeah, I'd call it a scream.
And it's that alone made this album way more enjoyable for me. Those elements. And my thought is if they're going to continue down this path, I will probably become a very big Testament fan. I've been a casual Testament fan in my life, in my, how I viewed them. So
I liked one thing I want to put is a caveat. Is we throw the term out screaming, but it's not a screaming for the sake of just raising your voice. There's a control to it. There's a skill to it. There's more to it than just, you anticipate your neighbor screaming at you because your dog shit in their yard or whatever it is. It's not that. That's not the kind of screaming, screaming is kind of a bland or a generic term that we're applying to. And other people have done it too, as far as that terminology, but we also don't mean it in a fashion that's as generic as it sounds. You have to do it right. 'Cause you can't do this on a fucking world tour and expect your fucking throat to not jump out of your fucking mouth. You have to do it a certain way. It's the same with death metal vocals. There's a skill involved. So even though we're using the term scream, or at least I'm using the term scream, it's not meant in a derogatory term or in a simplistic term of no skill, because it does involve a skill. You have to be able to hit that. You have to get it in the right spots, the register like you're talking about. There's a little bit more involved than just a generic like I'm screaming at the person who took my parking spot at the fucking Trader Joe's.
Well, here's a perfect vocal line to highlight what we're talking about. And it's Napalm Death's Unfit Earth. And it's the part where Barney is singing silent screams from an unfit earth, and Glenn Benton has got the screams over the top of it. That, to me, that combo, that's exactly what we're talking about. I love it. And it just sounds really demonic actually in a lot of parts. And it's kind of in the background. I didn't pick up on it so much when I was listening to it in my car. And, I listened to it at a nice volume and stuff. But yeah, just on headphones, man, I just picked up on a whole bunch more of that. I do want to say here, this was on Nuclear Blast label, and it was produced by Chuck Billy and Eric Peterson.
Yeah, that's interesting. They didn't involve any outside producer on this one. I think they've done that for a while, though, if I'm not mistaken. It saves you money.
Well, and that's one of my only gripes really about the album is that some parts of it are overproduced. And
Interesting.
I just feel like actually metal in general, as it's become, like with Pro Tools and everything has become so like perfected. Every note is perfectly tuned and every beat is perfectly lined up. And, everything is just, it's so perfect. There's soul in music when there's that little bit of off note, if you will. And I just feel like they go way over the top with the production. And that's in metal in general these days. And the drums, sound really triggered and I don't know.
Yeah, and they got the new drummer. Yeah, they did work with a producer, although it was a triple produced production previously with their last album, Titans of Creation, which was Chuck, Eric, and Juan Ortega. Not Ortega, unless that's how he pronounces it. But there's an extra bit in there, Ortega.
Yep.
Brother of the Snake was Eric and Chuck. Dark Roots, no producer credits on Dark Roots on Wikipedia.
Okay.
Oh, wait, that was Dark Roots of Thrash. My apologies. Andy Steep did Dark Roots. They should have brought Andy back in. Well, he's busy with Judas Priest, of course, but damn, Dark Roots of Earth is a fucking phenomenal album.
Yep.
Yeah, so their past three have been pretty much them with Juan Ortega. Let's say
Dark
Ortega.
Roots is my second favorite Testament album of all time, according to my worst of best ranking.
Shoot, I don't know what mine is off the top of my head. I only tracked where this one fell in there.
Oh, I put my whole list back together.
Well, I've got it. Don't get me wrong. I've been saving those so when I die and they want to do my worst to best collection at my memorial, then it's there.
It'll be a book. When somebody writes a book about the Disciples of the Watch podcast, they'll have your worst to best notes.
Let's hope so.
It'll be a collector's item.
They could sell them at the memorial. A little extra cash for my family. All the money we didn't make podcasting.
Yeah, so the band, we got the main members, of course, Chuck Billy, Alex Skolnick, and Eric Peterson. And they've got Steve DiGiorgio on bass and Chris Dovas on drums, and he's a brand new drummer.
New guy.
Dude's a beast, man. He's very fast. Really cool to listen to. This album, just in general, had a really renewed vibe to it. It didn't feel contrived, like they were just trying to put out an album. It didn't feel like it was following any kind of pattern that they were trying to stick with. Like, this is the Testament sound, or this is the way Testament sounds on album, or any of that. It just sounds totally like refreshed, man. I'm surprised by it, actually. It's fun to see these guys, a lot of these bands, because Overkill did it too. When they came out with Ironbound, it was like, boom, all of a sudden they were like a renewed band,
Hell yeah. Yeah, and sometimes that's what you need is new blood. You're swimming in the same waters, and all of a sudden it feels like you're just treading water.
Yeah, I wonder how much the drummer has pitched in on the album, actually.
I don't think he's got any writing credits, but I mean, at least energy-wise, he definitely is going to bring something. I mean, Overkill had the same effect when they brought in what's his face that I'm thinking of from Shadows Fall, and I'm blanking on his name. I just saw him recently because he was with Bobby Gustafson, and they got a photo together. But he's no longer with the band, of course. Now they got Jeremy.
I saw that picture, and I can't remember the guy's name either.
He's dead to us.
Jason Bittner.
There you go. Thank you. How did I forget that? I moved on. At any rate, so yeah, we got the new guy, Steve DiGiorgio. Of course, he's been there. Now, one thing I'm going to say before we get into this, and maybe I'll mention it as we go, but I did catch it today, and I didn't update some of my later notes, is that Steve, I feel like, is playing in a better pocket with Testament on this album than he has previously. Steve, I think, wants to stand out. He wants to show what he can do. And Steve, it's like, we know, brother, you do a great job, but you're detracting from the song. Here, I feel like he contributed to the songs versus trying to show like, hey, the song's not that great, but watch what I can do type of effect. Maybe you're not experiencing that, but Nate, that's the effect that I got when I heard it. And that made me just appreciate Steve a little bit more on this album versus previous works he's done with Testament.
Yeah, I didn't make a note of that, but I did, on paper, but I did take a mental note about the bass and noticing that, like if you hear him on Death, versus on Testament, he's much more in the pocket, if you will. But he does shine in various moments that really stand out in a special way that make you want to come back and like hear that again. Like, oh, that was cool. I want to hear that again. Versus just having an album full of that stuff. You know what I mean? So I think he's just way more in the pocket on this album.
Yeah, Tony Franklin's another bass player that I feel that does that a lot, where it's like he wants to just noodle all over the riff, and it's like, no, dude, you're at times, yes, Tony Franklin can bring a song from a 9 to a 10 or an 8 to a 9 or whatever. And same with Steve DiGiorgio, but there's times where they can also bring a song down because it's like, okay, you're just noodling too much. Find
the rhythm
sweet
section.
Spot.
Get in with the drum.
Work for the song, not for your ego. And that's how I look at it. Every time I write a song, every time I work on something, it's like I pulled my ego back because it's like, yeah, I want to do this thing, but is it serving the song? If the answer is no, then stop and just let the song flourish, let the song grow. And there's going to be other opportunities for you to do that. There have that flash. And I feel like he did that on this album. I don't know if I've ever said that about Steve on a Testament album in the past, but on this album, definitely it feels like he's finding his sweet spots and he's emphasizing the song just for the sake of the song, not for his ego.
Totally. Well said.
Well, should we get into it, Nate? We've done a lot of talking. Let's get to some breakdowns of the songs themselves. We haven't done a track by track in a while. Last one was Carrie King.
Wow, that is a while ago then.
Yes.
Wow.
That was 2024, June of 2024, since we did a track by track, at least according to my notes.
Yeah, I like to do it. I'm just, when it gets to like when we get into the tracks here, like trying to describe the song, I just like, oh, cool riff, cool lead, whatever, it's like, I've read other people's like track by tracks and it's like, oh, this song pummels like a sledgehammer in fucking July or whatever, they get all creative with their words, but I just don't find it. But it is fun to go through these albums and, like when you're taking notes, you're really listening to it, it's not a background thing. So just that piece of it is cool. But I'll kick it off here. The first track is For the Love of Pain. And out of a 1 to 5, I rank this a 4. And my very first note was black metal. And then I said, I wish the whole album was in this vibe. And little did I know that a lot of the album is in that vibe. So it's fucking awesome. But also commented on the drum sounding really triggered, mostly in the double bass parts. They sound really good when it's all like together, but when there's like a breakdown with the double bass where it's really pronounced, it just sounds so triggered. And this isn't a knock on Testament either. It's like, I go back and listen to like Morbid Angel from 1992 and the drums sound like a fucking typewriter. They're just so electronically triggered. And drums are such a powerful instrument, especially the bass drum. I just don't know why they go that route, but a lot of metal drummers do it. There's a lot of slow riffs throughout this. It kind of like chugs along and then it gets you up to like the, like the chorus section, the killer lead section. And the whole vibe of the song is really dark right off the bat. And I don't really associate Testament with dark music too much, except for like the New Order was pretty dark, had some like darker type lead elements and stuff on it. But anyways, that's the vibe.
For me, Nate, I gave this a 4 out of 5 as well. This one is one that initially it felt strong. And then the second and the third listen, it was like, you got to go higher. You got to go higher. This is a fabulous way to kick off the album. One of the best songs on the album for me. Let's see. In my quick notes that I jotted down as I was listening is it's a decent blackened thrash tune. The chorus is pretty cool. Some great bass lines that are thrown there by DiGiorgio. So right away, he's already establishing you're going to get Steve, but I didn't realize I was going to get Steve, but to service the song. And I don't think I noted it in here, and that's why I'm glad I brought it up, is this was just a tasting of like the that special sauce you're going to get sprinkled out throughout the album with Steve. Sometimes not the best choices, but this time it was. Like I mentioned, of course, I've already gone through that. Sometimes songs like this are disjointed, but I really like this one. I think it was well conceived and well executed. Again, 4 out of 5. Now, Nate, I did go back and dig into some of our friends who ranked this album when we did, or not unaware contributors as far as our worst to best on Testament. The only one that I found that actually had any comments regarding the new album was Darcy 6 Strings 9 Lives. And you'll probably remember that name because we used Darcy a few times.
Yeah.
So somebody had commented regarding specifically on the song. First song gave me some cattle decapitation vibes, a little grindcore death. Terracite blend. I'm not sure what that is. I love it. It's great, especially this first song. Darcy replied with, "Now that's the way to kick off an album. I'll be doing a full review, but yes, I'm hearing what you're hearing. Some black metal elements sprinkled in, plus Eric's screechy vocals. Fucking awesome." And I did reach out to Darcy and just say, "Where do you put this on your ranking?" And he's like, "I'm still working on it." That was 6 days ago. So we still don't have a ranking from Darcy as far as his worst to best where it falls. I would have liked to included that, but
that's cool. You reached out to him.
Well, I just reached out to him via his YouTube page. We're not like bros or anything. We're not trading.
Well, no, but
or anything
still,
like that.
We've used him a few times, and it's cool you made a contact with him.
Yeah, I was curious. I was really hoping he'd have it by the time we went to record, but
did you tell him we've been dogging him on the air?
No, I did not.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, maybe I'll refer to this. I don't know. We're dogging him. I don't know about that.
No,
maybe.
I'm just being funny, man. I think I've always appreciated his list. Everybody's list, actually.
Yes.
Yes, it makes it fun, which we've got a really juicy one coming up.
Oh, yeah.
And we got some like true blue fans that are going to be doing the participating. So anyways, little teaser. Stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned to Disciples of the Watch, but it has nothing to do with Testament. Up next, Nate, we have the first song that was released from the album, and Infanticide AI. And this one has writing credits from Chuck Billy and Del James, as far as lyrically, I should say. Most of this, I think, was written by Eric Peterson with a few pieces here and there, but I do have the vocalist the lyricists, I should clarify. So on this one, I remember hearing this, Nate, and I don't know what your experience was, but for me, I heard it and I'm like, this sounds exactly like the last two albums. They found that Megadeth, that cookie cutter type songwriting thing that they're going to do from this point until the end of time. Same with Metallica. Their last 2 or 3 albums, I'm forgetting their chronology, but those have felt very similar in that fashion. And Testament falls in that trap. Exodus kind of does. Of course, they're flipping through vocalists, so that kind of helps in a way. Overkill does not. I'm going to point that out because obviously Overkill is one of the best bands on the planet. Maybe a little bit.
They're up there.
Yeah, definitely. So at any rate, I'm going to go back to Infanticide AI. When I first heard it, like I said, I thought it was nothing special. I thought, oh, yep, this is Testament kind of going through their paces. But it has grown on me over time. And I feel like Testament is doing well to represent the thrash genre on this one. And, of course, a lot of that they do, of course. They didn't do the Metallica thing and just go, well, we're going to write stadium songs. But, of course, they're not playing stadiums, so that's going to factor in. But by all means, Infanticide AI is still a pretty decent song. Not as good as the kickoff track, but when I went through and listened to this over and over again before we recorded here today, because I did do a refresher this morning, I gave it 3.5 out of 5.
Yeah, the very first time I heard it when the single was released, I think you sent it to me. Maybe you sent their second single. I don't know. It was this one. It wasn't like, I was like, yeah, it's pretty good. I wasn't bowled over or anything. I ranked this song a 3. So for me, out of 5, it's just a good song. And I didn't, I guess, pick up on the sounding like the last few albums, but I did. My very first note is classic Testament vibe. This is how they've sounded throughout their career, and I could just hear their sound here really well. I called it a thrasher. Of course, this is just like a straightforward thrash tune. I found that the bridge and chorus was not as strong as the verse parts. And I found this with Testament throughout their whole collection. Sometimes one part of the song will be great, like the chorus might be really catchy, and then the verses are flat, or the verses are really catchy, like in this instance. But then I felt like the bridge chorus was a little flat, but just a little. I'm not saying it's like a fucking letdown. I just kind of noticed it's a little less exciting, I guess is how I would say it. I do like the subject matter. I really feel like AI is going to end up being a problem for humans in society. Unfortunately, no matter how good it is, I use like ChatGPT and stuff all the time. I love it. But there's people who their whole lives are revolved around taking advantage of other people. And those people are all involved in the technology industry as well as every other fucking facet of life. So look what social media has done. You know what I mean? I don't think social media has in any way been a benefit to our society. So I don't feel like AI, I think, is going to cause a lot of problems. And I appreciate the lyrical content. And it doesn't sound like they forced themselves to write the song. Like, what was the song he did about marijuana? I can't remember if it was the last album or the before. And I'm like, it's like, it sounded so like clunky and fucking bad. I don't know. Anyways, this was nice.
One of the worst.
So I appreciate it. Great lead. I'll probably say that just about in every single track because, I mean, Alex Skolnick is an amazing
and Eric
lead, and Eric, and they do some really good trade-offs in some parts too. So yeah, I ranked this a 3. Shadow People is the next track, and I gave it a 4. And it's really heavy and it's really catchy. And it has this like stomping rhythm, and Chuck's vocals are he just delivers it like right on every fucking chunk, you know? And then there's this lead up to the lead. It's really brief, but it's one of those moments that like I'm going to go back to this album because I want to hear that little piece. And it was really brief, but right into the lead, classic Skolnick lead. And then there's this riff that closes it out, and it has this just crazy electric sound. It is such an electric sounding riff. I don't know, man. And I don't think I ranked this high. I wish I would have kept my originals. No, I did rank it at a 4 my first time through too. This one grabbed me right off the bat. So yeah, cool.
Yeah, for me, Shadow People, this one's another one, Chuck Billy and Del James that are writing on this one. Longer song than the previous one though. This one I wrote, this feels like a late 90s, early 2000s carryover of Testament's previous works. That's not a bad thing, of course, mind you, but there are some classic Chuck Billy double rail vocals on this. Of course, he's always doing that anyway, but apparently I decided I needed to note that here. There's some cool lyrical content as well. I always appreciate that as a songwriter myself. That's one thing that can kill me on a song is like if the lyrics... I've heard so many songs where it's like, oh my God, this is really cool. And all of a sudden lyrics come in and it's like, did you even try? Or, you know, this is the song where you needed that message because you're killing the fucking vibe on what the lyrics are doing. But in this one, I don't have that. This one, I just said good lyrical content as well. I like the less death-like thrash on this one. And it is a little bit nice break, you know, especially come off the previous 2 albums. This one I ranked a 3 out of 5. So just a smidge less than you, Nate.
Yeah, I appreciate you mentioning the lyrics. I felt like in this whole album, the lyrics were pretty solid throughout every song. They really put together a great album here. I don't know what it is maybe it was the new drummer that just brought in this whole fresh vibe or something, but this whole album just is like, I don't know, man. I'm pretty stoked about it. I wasn't even going to buy this one, but I'm definitely going to pick this up on vinyl. But the lyrics are great throughout. None of it sounds really hokey. Even the ballad, which we haven't got to talk about yet, which is whatever. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah, pump your brakes.
Anyways, man, I just wanted to say about the lyrics. They've been good.
Well, speaking of the ballad, Nate, this is one that you and I had talked about and anytime we talk about Testament, we talk about the quality of their ballads, and they've kind of pumped the brakes on their ballads over the years. I don't know if they're trying to make it seem like they're not as soft, but you know what? If that's one thing you could do where you can shine above your peers, then don't fucking stop doing it, man. And I don't think they've cut a really good ballad since, late 90s, early 2000s?
The Ritual.
Trail of Tears?
I don't know. I'm not familiar with that one, I guess, in my mind.
And then they ended up doing a re-record of a bunch of their ballads acoustically, and it was fucking awesome. Just if you haven't checked those out, by all means, go check out. I think they're bonus tracks on one of their live albums. Damn it, I'm blanking on the place that was live at. I can see the album cover, but I can't get the damn thing in my head. I'll research it when I have time. But at any rate, those acoustic renditions is phenomenal. Is the original metal and those were not to detract from the originals. It was like I can listen to both and appreciate both separately, and maybe there's a mood for one and there's a mood for the other. but they're both fucking phenomenal. And Chuck Billy is a great lyricist when it comes to regards to his ballads, and the whole band as a complete package can just fucking do that right. It's not like they're going through the motions until this album. This for me meant to be 7 minutes and 33 seconds. Again, double writing credit lyrically with Billy and James. Really shit the bed. They let me down, Nate, because you and I both were excited that Testament was coming back, and they said this was a fucking epic ballad that they were coming out with this album. The only thing that was epic about it was the production. There was no heart. There was no consideration lyrically. This was just fucking going through the motions. This is the bands that they've been leaps and bounds beyond. They've lowered themselves to that level. But here's my notes. So Nate, I wrote, here it is. Here's the one we've been waiting for. We, as in you and I and the Testament faithful that love the ballads. Here it is, the ballad, the mega ballad, if I'm not mistaken. Well, it doesn't start strong, nor does it ever get strong. This feels like a ballad that AI would write. Now we're going back to the second song on this fucking album. We're talking about infanticide AI. This feels like a soulless AI piece of work. It's lacking heart and it's lacking passion. And this is all of it. This is musically and lyrically. So I'm not shitting just on the song, the lyricist. I am disgusted. I'm disappointed. That's a better word. Disappointed in the songwriters themselves, Eric and maybe Alex on this one. When I heard the symphony, I thought this might be building to something cool, but it was not. Lyrically, I don't care for it at all. So generic compared to the pieces Testament has created in the past. It may grow on me over time, maybe a little bit, but I am very disappointed out of the gate with this album. Great main lead. I will give it kudos for that, but, well, there's no but. And and this piece right after a very, very solid song as well. And right after the lead, there is a very solid piece, but it loses it right after that as lyrics come back in. Nate, I gave this a generous, let's call it a generous 2.5 out of 5.
Yeah, my initial thoughts were the weakest Testament ballad ever. And I guess I would still say that, though I wouldn't have such a harsh tone on it. I did listen to it again, as I've said, and it vibed with me a lot better this last time I listened to it. I don't really care for like the strings parts. That part of it kind of makes it seem a little like over the top for me. That does detract from it. I ranked this a 3. I think it's it was a decent song. I originally ranked it a 3. So I didn't change after listening to this one, but it's worth going back and listening to it more carefully. Another time, I would say, try to put aside your already disappointed. It's never going to be the ballad. Okay, listen, they wrote the best metal ballad ever called The Ballad. So they're comparing it to that, of course, this is no good. But anyways, I do appreciate it more than like I originally did when I heard it. Even the lyrics kind of grew on me.
I did go back and lyrically, I felt like it was like something that fucking Disturbed would write. And I don't need that. I don't need another stadium anthem that's going to be like, we're all together and we're a family and blah, blah, blah. Testament has done ballads that are superior to all of that. And in this case, I feel like they lowered themselves to the lowest common denominator lyrically and musically and did not execute on what they do. One of the things they do best. This is one of the things that sets them above Anthrax, Megadeth, Metallica. Of course, Slayer doesn't write ballads, so we're not going to include them. But although, Atut Lemond and Megadeth has got a couple of bangers as far as their ballads go, don't get me wrong. But Testament is at least up to that fucking Megadeth caliber and not on this song.
When it comes to a ballad, yeah, for sure.
Yes, agreed. Yes, that's what I'm referring to. So yeah, we got Return to the Serenity. Come on. That even still, I'm not even talking about the ballad. Yes, the ballad was phenomenal right out of the gate. That's what turned me on to Testament. and that whole fucking album, Practice What You Preach. And they've done some awesome work throughout until this album, this ballad, and it let me down. I'm not going to write my congressman. I feel like Testament needs to redo this.
I'm giving it some room to grow still, but those strings, I don't think I'm ever going to be cool with.
That's going to be the heart. Yeah. Just, it feels like it's forced. Like they're trying to like do something to make the song bigger because you know what? It needed it. It was lacking. So they're like, what can we do to make this song more ballady, to make this song feel like it's more epic? Well, let's throw some electric strings on here. No.
Well, this is one example where potentially they fell victim to, we do ballads, so we have to do a ballad here. And it was like they tried to follow some kind of formula or something, and it wasn't inspired necessarily. But I did feel a little more inspiration when I listened to it last night.
I don't think they've done a ballad since Return to Serenity. I could be wrong. I should have a list because every one of them is going to be good until I get to this one. This is going to be the black mark.
That's the last one I remember.
Same here. And that's what I'm blanking on.
The Ritual, I guess, I don't know. That's not really a ballad.
No. And even if they're doing like ballad adjacent songs, they can still do them right. This one, I feel like, and especially with the strings, like you said, it's pasted on. They're trying to salvage a bad song by throwing shitty electric strings on top of it, and it fucking fell flat. Like I said, I'll give it more opportunities, but this one, yeah, we did. So it's not a throwaway song. We'll get there, but this is not a throwaway song. But it is my passion, and what you're hearing from me right now is I was let down because I wanted Testament to touch that part of me that they've done in the past. That makes me want to just hit repeat and hear that same fucking song over again. That ballad. I want it to hurt. I want that hurt to feel. I want to take me back to when I was a virgin fucking child in my mid-teens because I wasn't a virgin after that. But I wanted that. I wanted that feeling that they can do, and maybe only they can do. I mean, Fade to Black. That's another one that touches me in that fashion. I mean, not like virginally, but as far as like that energy, and Testament can do that, and they've done it, and they fucking hit home run after home run. This one is maybe a double on an error if they're lucky.
All right, the next track is High Noon. I ranked this a 4. When I first ranked it, I ranked it a 4, and then halfway through the song, I put a /3, and then by the end, I ranked it a 4, and then listening to it again last night, I ranked it 4. So I feel confident this is a fucking 4. My first note is there's a lot of stunning riffs on this album. When you really just hone in on the riffs, like it's amazing. And I continue to feel that way throughout the rest of this album where I'm just like, man, they've just got these riffs on here that just are they're crushing. A lot of them are just stunning was the word I used.
Erica's great.
Yeah, because he's the primary songwriter, right?
Yep.
Chuck's leaning really heavy on the death metal vocals here. And he does an interesting range of vocals on this album. And even I feel like as he's gotten older, I think he sounds better when he's doing a little bit gruffer sounding stuff because maybe his voice just doesn't have that range anymore. Totally get it. But every kind of style he leans on in this album all sounds really good. Even when he was singing on that ballad, like his voice comes through really good.
You still got it.
So yeah, it's a heavy song. I don't have much else to say about it.
Well, Nate, this is where we part ways. High Noon. This one was lyrically all Chuck Billy, and it's almost 4 minutes long at 3:52. This one doesn't start off strong for me. As a matter of fact, I feel the song can be skipped, even when it gets rolling. And Chuck repeats the intro line, and it feels. I'm looking for the word weak. If you're going to write a gunslinger song, check out Anthrax's work on the subject. The death thrash hybrid isn't helping for me. Here's my mean voice, but I'm singing with a cowboy, singing about a cowboy with a fast shooting hand. It does not sit well with me. I give this a 2 out of 5.
You know, it's funny because it actually has like a gunslinger vibe to it, in my opinion. And I, too, right at the beginning, I was like, what? And the fuck is this? But by the end of the song, I was like, no, they nailed this. They got the vibe. The song, when you hear the title, High Noon, like you can expect a song that's going to fucking live up to that title. Anyways.
I thought it was another one about the cannabis business.
No, that's a really terrible fucking Testament song.
High Noon.
Yeah, I like it. So
yeah, this one did not stick for me. Nate, on song number 6, we got a cool writing credit on this one. We got Witch Hunt with Chuck Billy, of course, and Steve Souza with a writing credit. That's fucking awesome.
Yep, Zetro wrote the lyrics. He wrote the lyrics.
And I think he did background vocals on this as well.
I didn't
swear
see
I hear him in
reference
there.
to background.
I don't know. I feel like I hear it.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe they didn't give him a background credit because they didn't want him to have any more money. He is their manager, though, right? Or am I flipping that around?
Chuck Billy is
Exodus
is
Thank you.
manager.
That's what it is. So anyhow, I wrote Steve with a writing credit on this one. That's nice. It sounds like he's doing background vocals. That's what I'm hearing. It's an average Testament song at best. Chuck doing his late 90s vocals, on this one. The bridge is kind of lacking overall. I didn't really click on this one, but I still gave it a 2.5. So roughly middle ground out of 5.
All right. Witch Hunt. I gave it a 4. And the first time I ranked it, I gave it a 3. But after last night, I listened to it again and I bumped that one up to a 4. Every song, the riff is just next level. It's got the Deicide-esque vocals going on, with the low growls and the higher screams. And Zetro, wrote the lyrics. It's another one that, kind of has like an evil, like lyrical kind of content to it. And the vibe of the song, like totally tracks with it, especially in the vocals.
Can I ask, how high were you when you listened to this last night?
I was high, but that doesn't take away from the experience of listening to it.
Okay.
It enhances, I believe.
Well,
and
listen
since
to
you
tomorrow
brought it
when
up, I'll say
driving.
exactly what it does. And it's hard to imagine this, but like, your head is constantly full of thoughts and shit, right? And you're, like you're deep. And sometimes you can be deep in it, right? Thinking about tomorrow, last month, fucking what you're going to do 10 years from now. All this shit's is constant, right? And then you're listening to music and all that's going on. And the shit can't really penetrate right because your mind is so fucking full. And when you get high, your mind isn't full of all that shit. And it's like you hear music in this big spacious like environment mentally. And it makes a big difference. And that's often why I'll say, if I don't like an album right off the bat, I often will want to get stoned and listen to it because I could totally change. Like Santana, and this isn't from weed, this was from mushrooms, but I've never liked Santana in my life. And then I heard
Smooth with Rob?
What's that Neshburr
from Matchbox 20?
Oh my God, no. I don't like that. Incident at Neshburr. I heard that on mushrooms. And I instantly became a fan of Abraxas and their first album. I haven't really listened to much beyond, but I've listened to a lot of their live stuff around then. Anyways, there's something to it. That's all I'm saying. And you can get there from meditating as well, but weed is just quick. Are you just trying to find a way to justify my glorification of this album?
I understand the...
I'm just kidding, man.
Being in that altered state to where you might be more forgiving. Let's put it that way, versus your Transgressors or versus a Testament album that maybe, or a song that maybe you give a little extra credit to that in your normal state of mind, or at least not an aggressive or altered, that maybe you'd feel like, yeah, it's okay.
Yeah. And it often, like if I do hear it though, in that state of mind and I like it going forward, that's how I will have experienced it now. You know what I mean?
And that is a possibility as well.
You've had the experience too with live music. I bet you've listened to an album, you didn't really care. You go see them live. You're like, oh fuck, these guys are awesome. Now you're a fan all of a sudden.
You're touching your first boobie and you're hearing this song. And all of a sudden, right? I love this song. Reminds me of Areolas. I fucking love it.
Word. All right. The next song is Nature of the Beast. And I ranked this one a 3. It has a kind of a cool swagger to it. It's a classic Testament vibe. It's just overall not as strong as the previous songs. I wouldn't quite call it a filler, but it almost could be. But I want to note right now that there's 10 tracks on this album. And when bands do albums that are like 8 to 10 tracks, I typically find they're a lot stronger albums then when they're trying to do 12 or 14 tracks, and then you're like, okay, well, you know what? Like 6 of these are fillers. So this one is pretty good, but this one is maybe on the edge of being that.
Yeah, this one does feel like a filler to me. This one, again, Billy and James did co-vocals on this one, 4:28, so around 4.5 minutes. Here's what my notes are on this one. Is like, good fucking Lord, another goddamn song about Las Vegas. We've already been through here. We don't need this. I think Chuck sometimes is out of good lyrical ideas. There's so much going on in this world. Why do you need another fucking song about another song about fucking cards and Las Vegas? I don't need to hear it. It's not that engaging. I can agree with songs requiring different lyrical slants regarding the same content, but not fucking card playing or not Las Vegas. I don't fucking need this. He already covered this back with Blackjack from Brotherhood of the Snake. It did not need to be revisited. You've done that, Chuck. It sucked the first time. It sucked this time. I cannot believe you gave this 3 stars, Nate, though, but I'm gonna bring it back down to earth. 1.5 out of 5 stars on Nature of the Beast. Lyrically, this kills the fucking song for me. I don't need another goddamn song regarding card playing. You already got the gunslinger. What else do you need?
No more card playing.
No more card playing, Chuck.
Let me broke the mold on that one.
Yes, Ace of Spades. You hit the pinnacle. Drop it. You can't talk about aces anymore in your fucking songs. You got one opportunity, Chuck, and you shit the bed on Brother of the Snake. Now you really just rubbing salt in the wound. Horrible. Other than that, I have no opinion.
I didn't have that strong of a feeling about it, I guess.
I guess you didn't. Well, let's move on to song number 8. Now, this is one I don't have much for, and I actually went back this morning thinking, I wanted to talk to me a little bit more. I wanted to pull something out of me. I want to have some notes regarding this. And again, I can't. It's not bad. It's another dual writing credit lyrically with Billy and Del James, but it is more interesting than the previous song, and it's musically so-so, but it has grown on me with the repeated listens. I'm going to keep it at a 2.5 out of 5, though.
All right. Yeah, Room 17. I originally ranked it a 3. I ended up with a 4 ranking, and it's because, it's not as hard driving as most of the previous songs. I really did enjoy the lyrics. Again, they didn't feel contrived at all. They just they were telling a good story, but the riffs start to progress throughout the song. And when I really paid a close attention to it, ultimately it pulled me along and realized this is really a good song, and the lyrics are great. And it's not as catchy right at the beginning, but it makes up for it. The riffs, as the song progressed, totally redeemed the song. Was my final note. Do
you have any idea what's in regards to? I meant to look it up, but I just realized I have not.
I thought it sounded kind of like an insane asylum type song, but I didn't look into it. I didn't read the lyrics either. I was just listening to this, to him sing, and you can hear most of what he's saying.
Yeah, I wonder if they tag that, because I did buy the CD and I do have it, but I didn't go back. And not every artist does that, where they say, "Hey, this is why we wrote the song," or "This is the inspiration for the song." And sometimes they do, and I do appreciate that. It doesn't always have to be a mystery. Sometimes you leave things a mystery because, they can relate to people in different ways, and that I fucking appreciate. And I love that. Nothing wrong with that. But if you have a specific narrow-minded focus on what this song is about, like fucking One from Metallica, tell the story. Tell us what you're writing about. And now, again, I'm going to preface this by saying that I do not know if Testament did that. So I'm not trying to shit on Testament for that. It just popped into my head that I meant to go back and revisit this. And even today, when I was listening to it again, just to finalize my notes, I did not find anything, or I did not do anything regarding that. And as I'm poking around on the internet as we record now, I'm not really seeing anything. But there's probably something that inspired Chuck to write this, because there are references to Room 117 on the internet. And one of them even references, where'd it go? Martin Luther King. Oh, Friends of the Martin Luther King Library. But yeah, even the New York Times have something. Andrei Svetlov would rather live in the streets than take antipsychotic medication. Should it be his decision to make? And that's what the New York Times has as their piece on this before they put up their blocker, because I don't have an account and I will not sign up for one. So there you go. But this one even says, machines help you breathe. You're trapped inside a dream. You will never leave room 117. So it could be loosely based on that story that I brought up, but
yeah, could be.
Do not know.
Am I up?
You have the odds. So yes.
All right. Next up, we got Havana Syndrome. I originally ranked it a 3 and I ended up giving it a 4. As I was really listening to the riff, I was thinking that must be really hard to play that shit. And the drums are right along with it. I don't know. I almost want to say it's got a jangly type like feel to it. I don't know how to describe it, but I'm like, it must be crazy fucking hard to play the rhythm to that. My first thought was this was a filler, but it ended up being, a 4 out of 5. It's got another impeccable lead in it. One of these songs, they both go into the lead at the same time. They do the dual lead, and I can't remember which song it is. I wish I would have taken note of it, but it sounds really cool. And it might be this song, but I can't remember for sure.
Are you familiar with what the Havana Syndrome is, Nate?
I am not.
I knew of this before hearing the song, so I was curious. First of all, one, why would you write a song about this? And then two, like, okay, well, let's just hear the song because I like Testament. I want to see what they're going to do with it. It is known as an anomalous health incident, is a disputed medical condition. Havana Syndrome is known as an anomalous health incident as a disputed medical condition. Starting in 2016, about a dozen overseas locations, U.S. and Canadian government officials and their families reported symptoms associated with the perceived localized loud sound. The symptoms lasted for months and included disabling cognitive problems, balance, dizziness, insomnia, and headaches. Havana Syndrome is not officially recognized as a disease by the medical community. And there's a lot more information regarding that. There's a speculation that it is a weapon that was used against, well, I thought it was USA, but apparently Canadian government officials also have suffered the effects of this. And it happened in, well, maybe around the world, but it maybe first took notice in Cuba, where, America has interest in, wants to keep the Ruskies out of there. Although there's not really much left for Ruskies anymore, and we're not going to go political, but there you go. So it's a little bit, there's a little bit more to it. There's some foundation to the lyrical content is basically kind of what I'm pointing out. Now, for me, lyrically, I'm like, why is this interesting enough to write lyrics about? Because we've got so much other things going on in the world, so much through history that we could also visit, but Chuck felt like this was important. And maybe he's got a connection to Cubans, and that's great. That's why this became a focus with Cuba or Cuban stationed military personnel from the United States. I don't know.
Does it have to be deeply involved?
It does not.
Could he have just heard the name of it or heard about it and thought, that'd be a cool content for a song?
He may have, but I think that's a weak ass song content. There's, like I said, there's so much better you could write about. However, he did decide to pick up the mantle and charge with the Havana Syndrome and talk about this thing that did happen. This is factual. That although the scientific community is baffled, or some will say yes, this was some sort of weapon that was used, and some would say no, it was just maybe they had bad clams. So Chuck writes a song about it. Here we are with the brand new Testament album, song number 9. This one, Alex Skolnick has a credit on as far as writing lyrically on, and maybe he's the problem. I mean, no, I shouldn't say that. Maybe he was the impetus. Maybe he was inspired by it. Maybe he's got friends in Cuba. I'm sure they probably all do. We do, for Christ's sakes. But it wasn't Cubans, of course. It was Americans and Canadians, apparently, that were affected by this. This one, I don't know. Did you catch this, Nate, when this song started, that it borrows heavily from Electric Crown?
I heard something, but I wasn't sure what. And I wish I would have taken a note because I was going to try to go back and see if I could figure out what it sounded like. And that's from The Ritual?
That's what it is. Yes. I want to say yes. I'll say yes with an asterisk because I could obviously be wrong. But it was funny because I was listening to them like Testament is stealing from Testament. Or, well, okay, stealing is a heavy word. I shouldn't say that. Testament has been inspired by Testament to write this intro that is borrowing from Electric Crown. This has that early to mid Testament 90s, early to mid 90s Testament vibe. Like I said, interesting subject matter for the song, but not very strong. I feel like it would have been a stronger song with more engaging lyrics. But for me, this isn't like I don't know. I guess if you're a conspiracy theorist, maybe this is a bigger thing. But for me, this is on the lower side of conspiracy theories. Chuck has definitely delved in these waters before with conspiracies and aliens and whatnot and serpent fucking things. And this one is like, oh God, if you had just reached above this topic, you could have definitely brought this song to be a bigger piece, but it didn't, obviously, because he's writing about the Havana syndrome. I don't know if anybody's really talked about that in years, as a matter of fact, of course, and maybe other than people who suffer from it. Not a bad song, though. I still gave it a 3 out of 5. Nate, the final track, 10. Now, one thing I'm going to say is, like you mentioned earlier, and I didn't want to jump right on that because I wanted to save it. That is a good point. It seems like as of this CD age, everybody's trying to shoehorn in 3 to 4 songs that don't need to be there. They're gilding the lily, or worst is they're trying to just pad something to give it more bang for your buck. Because you're spending $10 on the good and the fucking good old days when it's $10 for a CD. Now you're $20, $15 or whatever. At any rate, there's always that additional stuff that didn't necessarily need to be there. Take those songs out, bookmark them for later, work on them, play them live, whatever the fuck you need to do. But don't just jam them into a CD so you can get them done. So in the next writing cycle, you just start over and try to write 1 to 15 more songs to satisfy the CD purchasers. I am grateful that Testament did not do that on this album. They went back to the old school, and maybe they've done that for a while. Actually, I think they did. I did a little digging and I don't remember, but they haven't been on this album. They didn't feel like they needed to write or include, if they had written 3 to 5 extra songs. They didn't do that. And I appreciate that. Give us your best 10. And that's all we need. Give us some bonus tracks, whatever the fuck. But put it on EP with the shit you didn't put on the album. Whatever you need to do. Don't give us 14 songs with only like 8 good ones. If even that. Don't pad it. I'm tired of that. Because you're just wasting my time. And you're also lowering your average on the rankings when Disciples of the Watch decide to go track by track on it. Of course, they're not thinking that, but they should, Nate. That's what I'm saying. They should consider our thoughts on these albums. But they didn't. They went 10 on this release. And I am grateful for Testament going old school with it. They kept it under an hour. They kept it at 10 songs. Yes, this last song is a long one. It's 6.5 minutes. Chuck Billy has the sole lyrical writing credit on this one. And they did save the title track for last. So here we are, Bellum, at the 10th song. Here's my notes on this one. It sounds like it's building for something large, but once it's rolling, it feels like your standard kind of song. Not really. It kind of falls flat. As far as the payoff goes, I was beginning to wonder if it was an instrumental because it does take about a minute and a half to get into the song before we actually have Chuck coming into it. Because I thought, wow, if you're going to write a 6.5 minute outro, this thing better fucking shine. But then again, Chuck comes in, so not a problem. Here we have more metaphors about snakes. Come on, Chuck. We've been here before. You had an album called Brotherhood of the Snake. We can move past that, can't we? We've been through so much since then. Please consider new lyrical content. Another album or song that was let down to me by the lyrics. However, I am going to put an asterisk on this one because I feel like this one with repeated listens might be a grower, but with the repeated listens that I did give it when I did these notes, it still hadn't moved past a 2.5 out of 5.
Man, you're brutal. Bellum, I gave that a 4.
Wow.
On both times I listened to it.
So you went from an album that you would not buy to almost every song's a 4.
Yeah, pretty much.
Wow.
I just had to give it like some real attention. you know?
I gave it that, and we have different results.
Yeah, totally, man.
Totally. Nothing wrong with
Your
that.
taste is burned out. I don't know what to tell you. Just kidding, man. Of course. All right. I like the intro lead. It ramps up to the main riff. The more I listen to the album, the more black and thrash I hear throughout. It's got ferocious riffing and vocals, and it's just an epic closing song in general. And I gave it a 4. Strong closer. And I guess maybe I didn't pay attention enough to the lyrics to be disappointed by anything he was singing about.
Well, and that's one thing that's nice about what we do here is we have different ideas. You're a song guy. You're focused on the music, and there are people that are like that. So I'm not saying you're unique or you're different or you're weird. It's just that's the music is what draws you in to me. Yes, the music, but also I want the lyrics to either not detract from the song or I want them to enhance a song. And sometimes it's the reverse where the music isn't the greatest, but the lyrics fucking just make the song shine. So for me, that's, I guess, where I sit with lyrics, where I need them to not pull it down. I'd either rather be innocuous, because I've listened to songs where it's like, these lyrics make no sense, but they flow with what the song is doing. But Chuck isn't one of those songwriters. Chuck is very intent on what he's writing. He wants his lyrics to convey a message. And sometimes that message is, I need to write another song about a snake, or I got another fucking song about Las Vegas, or the ace is high, or the ace is wild, or the ace is going to get you, or what the fuck the ace is going to do to you. I don't need that. So I'd rather Chuck go outside of what he's already, or if you're going to try those waters, try it from a different angle. Because he's got native blood in him. He wrote a song called Native Blood. Fuck, there's so much you could do there. Trail of Tears, oh my God. Lyrically, you scratched the surface, but yes, you've raised awareness about this thing that people may not know. What's the Trail of Tears? Fuck, go Google it. Go look at what happened. But here we got fucking snakes and card games. I don't fucking understand it. Still not a bad album, but yeah, Parabellum, I was thinking, oh, you're going to say the big one for last. I was hoping for a little bit more. But again, Nate, on this one, I did put that asterisk by it thinking, I'll be curious to see if this one is a grower on me. And there are some songs or albums that are like that. We've been through this. You know, we've talked about, like, my favorite Oak album is no longer my favorite. It's my second favorite. Or my favorite Megadeth is now my second favorite because I've given due diligence to everything that's presented to me on those albums. This one just doesn't hit that mark as far as what I was hoping for with the new drummer, a renewed testament going into 2025 and beyond. And especially when you got all these people that are fucking, Ozzy's died. Of course, they wrote this before Ozzy died. And then you got Megadeth that's calling it a day. And it's like, you know, the fucking sunset is on us, man. Especially with some of us who are older, some of those guys who are older than us. Bring your A game. If you need to take more time to write it, take more time.
I felt like they did,
of course,
on this one though. So,
well, and that's where we'll agree to disagree.
And I don't, as long as the lyrics, as long as, they were written in a, they don't have to be deep in any kind of way, I guess, unless that's the intent of the song,
But I'm actually glad, because when you and I first chatted about you like mentioned that you're like, I don't even remember the words you used, but when you first said, I'm done with my list and it's like another blah type of album. Yeah. Of course, I'm paraphrasing. You didn't use those words. And then when you messaged me before we went to record or last night and said, yeah, I've got a little bit of a different take. I'm like, oh, I have a feeling Nate got really high and listened to this album and he likes it more.
That's what happened. I'm predictable.
So there you go, Nate. Now, this is the big question that I'm curious to see. I'll start it off. You started the list. I'll start off the personal rankings. Obviously, we went through this whole album. It's not a bad album. And you're going to see from my rankings here, when it comes to the 13 studio albums that Testament has, this one is better than the previous 2 albums. I cannot put it above Demonic in my top 10. So for me, this one falls at 11 out of 13. But it's definitely better than Titans of Creation, and it's way better than what I consider their worst album, which is Brotherhood of the Snake. I appreciate the fact that they are on the right track and they're becoming the band that we fell in love with all over again, back with what was it, Formation of Damnation, and then into Dark Roots of the Earth.
All right, my number 1 is The New Order. My number 2 is Dark Roots of Earth, and my number 3 is Parabellum.
Wow.
And Parabellum
Holy
and Dark
shit.
Roots of Earth are essentially were tied. Dark Roots had they were like a fraction higher, like the 1/10 or whatever higher.
Well, that's interesting. I mean, and again, nothing wrong with it. We got both ends of the spectrum here represented between the two of us.
So, but when I first ranked it, it was 7th in my list. But then as I was looking at my list, I was like, nah, I think I like it better than, a couple of these. So I put it 5. And then after I finished listening to the whole thing last night, I rescored, redid my score. And then I was like, oh shit, it made it into my top 3. And it is my 3rd one.
Holy shit.
I'll be curious to see if anybody else gives it as high a praise, that does rankings.
Yeah, I'm curious to see where Darcy Six Strings puts it. It seems like he's pretty he's got a shine on it. So he may be closer to you than he is to me. But yeah, for me, this is that there's like a trilogy that they've just established with Brother of the Stake and Titans of Creation and Parabellum, that this is the best of the 3 as far as those go. But yeah, and I thought, can I get this above Demonic? And when I went and listened to this and then I listened to Demonic again, I thought, nope, I feel like Demonic is a stronger offering than what we have here. So I could definitely not unseat a Demonic at this point in time. Holy crap. Number 3. Wow.
Well, my Demonic is at number 10. So
is mine.
Oh, okay. The way you're talking about it, I thought maybe you had it higher up on your list or something.
No, I was just waiting to see where this one would fall.
Oh, gotcha.
And then I wanted to compare the two. Like, okay, what is it trying to unseat? And then I went and listened to Demonic again and then listened to Parabellum. And it's like, no, I cannot, for me, unseat Demonic. So I left it Demonic at number 10. My top 3 are Practice What You Preach, The Ritual, and The New Order, followed by Souls of Black. And I definitely couldn't unseat any of that. Dark Roots of Earth. I'm surprised actually Dark Roots of Earth is number 5 for me, because that's a killer album. Where'd you have it, number 2?
Number 2, yep.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, this is one of those rare bands, I guess, from the 80s that's coming out with music now that I like more than some of the stuff that came out back in the day.
Nice. Like Overkill. I mean, not that Overkill has stuff you don't like in the back in the day, but they're still putting out quality product.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that, Megadeth and Metallica failed us with. It's like they're putting out decent stuff, but it's like, no, you guys, you kind of just cookie cutter at this point.
Not hungry enough.
And I'll be curious to hear that new Megadeth though. I'm especially with Ride the Lightning. They're doing, Dave Mustaine's taking one of his songs back and he's doing fucking Ride the Lightning. I'm going to be so stoked to hear that.
Oh yeah, me too. I think it's funny and cool that he's doing it.
Yeah, but again, he's got a co-write on it. Although, is that one he's got an official co-write? Did Metallica give him a writing credit on the album, or was it more of a posthumous? Am I saying posthumous credit? I don't recall.
I don't recall either.
He does have a writing credit according to Wikipedia.
Well, hopefully he doesn't butcher it.
I hope he doesn't either. Yeah, I'll be curious to see how he can do it lyrically, or vocally, I should say. I mean, of course, musically, he's probably going to kick ass because that's Dave Mustaine. And I feel he's going to want to just like say, hey, here's how Megadeth would have done it. Or here's how I would have done it if I was in Megadeth.
He said it's a tad faster.
Sorry, Metallica. And I did see that, yes.
Did you listen to that, him talking about it?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Yep. And I'll be curious to see, because sometimes speed isn't necessarily, it takes away from groove. So I'll be curious to see if it services a song or if it services Dave's desire to do something different or Dave's desire to do something fast. The same thing we did with Mechanics. Four Horsemen has got a groove to it. Mechanics does not, because Mechanics is more just like, we want to hurry up and get this song over with, because lyrically it's not as interesting as what Metallica did with it.
True.
But I wish Dave would have done a Testament song. That would have been awesome. Although he can't do Chuck's voice. So I understand why Dave would not do a Testament song. He doesn't have that Chuck Billy voice and that Chuck Billy range.
Yeah.
And I hope Dave's got a good voice. He's going to have how many, 2 or 3 years of touring ahead of him to wrap up this global tour of saying goodbye to all of his fans, promoting this final album with bonus tracks. There's how many, 2 or 3 extra tracks that were recorded that are not going to be on the general release. I think there's was it European or Japanese or maybe both bonus tracks. At any rate, I know he's saving some things. If they're not going to be on that initial release, they're going to be saved for just to kind of keep people interested as far as Megadeth goes in their final tour. If this is indeed their final tour, if they change their mind, by all means, that's up to you, Dave. I just hope he can sing, because I've heard recent recordings of Don Dokken and Klaus Meine from the Scorpions, and we don't need that shit in the world anymore. You're degrading your legacy by going out and singing Vince Neil, for fuck's sake, the crown holder of people who should not be out in front of a crowd singing would be Vince fucking Neil and Don Dokken.
Definitely. Hang it up, guys.
But Chuck still got it. Back to where we were. Bringing it full circle back to Testament, Nate. So yeah, for me, I feel this was a stronger album. I'm definitely more pleased with it than the previous 2 albums. Obviously, you have a better appreciation for the album than I do. But musically, yes, musically is stronger or strong. Musically, I don't know if Testament's ever let me down. I guess maybe it's more along the lines of maybe some of the compositions are definitely lyrically, obviously. Just Cannabis is still one that sticks in my brain as far as like out of the big 4 and their brothers and sister bands that came up with them. It's one of the fucking worst. And that's saying something, because we've listened to a lot of Exodus doing our worst to best with Exodus. And they covered fucking Lowrider, for fuck's sake. And Cannabis is right down in the barrel, right down there with Lowrider.
Yeah, it's a poorly written song. Poorly performed, poorly written. Why?
It's just...
They had to include it on the album. I will never fucking understand it.
Oh, Nate. Okay, well, we are going to end on a high note, though, other than our celebration of this being a better album than they released previously, that we could both agree upon. And, of course, hoping the best for Megadeth. And I'll be curious to see, obviously they got some South American dates that were recently announced, and they've got this Iron Maiden tour that's coming up with Anthrax participating in certain shows, not all of them, of course. I'll be curious to see what Megadeth is going to do when they come to the North America's dates and who they're going to bring. I'd be awesome to see them bring Testament on tour with them. They've done it in the past. I mean, fuck, they've done it with Overkill. I do not dog, Harley from Cro-Mags. It was Harley, right?
Yep.
That was shitting on those bands.
Yep.
Yeah. Megadeth doesn't deserve that. So I'll be curious to see what they're going to do on their final, how many years of doing this. Is Testament going to be part of that? Is any of these bands that they've participated with in their heyday is going to be part of it? Is Dave Ellefson going to be part of it? I don't know, Nate, but we're not talking about Megadeth. We're talking about Testament. I need a Testament song for you that we're going to end this on, and any comments that you have before we get to that, if I overtalked you.
Nope, I think we touched on all the topics about the album. I just refreshed vibes. It's got crushing riffs throughout the whole entire album. It's really tight, doesn't feel contrived. It's a little overproduced. We're going to close out the album. We're going to close out the episode with the song For the Love of Pain, which is the first song on the album, because it just sets it off right off the bat. Yes,
for me, it's the strongest song on the whole album. Now, obviously, you've got a lot of stuff ranked at 4s. Do you feel like that's a statement you could agree with, or would you have differences in that?
What's that?
That is the best song on the album.
Yeah, I would go with that. That was my first, I would say that it is the best song on the album.
Nice. Yeah, for me, that was right out of the gates. Within the second listen, I'm like, this is the tone setter. If they can continue this momentum, we got a solid album. So 4 out of 5 on me. Nate, you've got some 4 out of 5 too, correct?
Yeah, I could have put it at a 5, I guess. Considering I gave so many other 4s, and this one does stand out over those. I don't do the
good
half
point.
rankings and stuff like you do. So
That's true. Because there's sometimes where it's like, it's not quite a 3, but it's not quite a 4. I'll put it right in the middle. That's part of my 10 mentality.
right, you got to get the
where
10
I want
in
to.
there.
Yes, I need all that room, that wiggle room between 1 and 10. So here you go. Chris Dovas. Who is that? I don't know. He's got a writing credit as far as lyrically on this, as does Eric Peterson. So yeah, Chuck doesn't even have a lyrical writing credit for The Love of Pain. So you're going to get a little Testament. You're going to get a little bit of Black. You're going to get a little bit of Death, but you're going to get a fucking solid song. Even Darcy Six Strings loves it. So without further ado, For the Love of Pain from Testament's Parabellum. And until next time, my friends,
Stay heavy.
Thank you for listening to Disciples of the Watch. This episode was produced by Gene Vogel and Nathan Matnich. All music is property of the artist or the publisher. Please buy music and support the art we all love. Editing on this episode was done by Gene Vogel. Check out our website, dotwpod.com, for show notes, links, and more information on the show, as well as connections to social media. Don't forget to subscribe to the show using your preferred podcast application, or use our FeedBurner RSS feed listed on our website. Plug it into your browser or whatever app you're using, and then you will get all of the goodness moving forward. And you can also download the show as MP3 files from dotwpod.com. If you'd like to support the show, please click on the support us link at our website. As well, we have Patreon, so you can do a monthly contribution if you so desire, or purchase some of our merch from our website. Thank you for listening, friends, and stay heavy.